Hello everyone, Thomas here. Thanks so much for clicking onto the video. I just wanted to do a little ranking video real quick about the 21 Pilots albums. I want to rank them, but then after I get done reacting to them and actually giving them a rating, I want to see if there's any differences between what I think that I feel right now or the way that I will once I listen to everything actively and, actually put a number to each album. So far, I have only done half of No Fun Intended. That's not going to be part of the ranking of 21 Pilots, but I do want to finish that before I go into 21 Pilots and then Regional at Best and then so forth. I want to be able to do that to kind of refresh my mind and all that. But before I do that, I kind of want to give a ranking of what I feel is going to be what I have as my ranking. And I know that's kind of strange, that's kind of weird, but I feel like it makes sense to me. So I want to put out some more 21 Pilots content, and this is about the quickest thing that I could think of that I could do. So I'm going to do this real quick. Like I said, I've already said real quick a bunch of times, but make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you do end up liking it. If not, please leave in the comments below why you didn't. I'd really appreciate it. I know this camera angle is kind of funny. I just have my iPhone sitting on my table here in front of my laptop, or not my laptop, but my computer. But yes, so my list obviously is going to be way different to everybody else's list, but I want to, maybe it's not to everybody else's list, but I'm going to give you, a kind of rough feeling of why I feel this way, and we'll just continue on through the rankings. So the 6 albums we're going to be talking about are, from not Regional at Best, but from 21 Pilots all the way into Scaled and Icy. So the first one I want to talk about, which is ranked 6th bottom for me, is Regional at Best. The reason for this is, in my mind, yes, it has some amazing songs that get transferred into Vessel, but there are also some tracks on here that are all obviously not as well produced, but that is because, Tyler and Josh did it themselves, with no budget. They were just doing it to release some music to be able to go on tour, to go to little shows and stuff. It makes complete sense. And then when Fueled by Ramen saw it, they were like, we need you. And so, hey, Vessel was created and Regional at Best was taken away. So a lot of the songs from Regional at Best is on Vessel, but there's, there's minor differences, or some of the differences are pretty crazy. Like for Trees, I don't really like the auto-tune version of Trees, but I could see the appeal. And also Lovely, the Regional at Best Lovely, I feel like is not as grand as the Vessel version, or the bonus Vessel version that's not in the United States, which is pretty awful to me, but it is what it is. I digress, is what they say. So yeah, number 6 for me right now is Regional at Best. Now, number 5 is going to be their self-titled 21 Pilots album. I love this album, and I'm saying I love all these albums, so it's really hard to rank them, but without giving them a full score, I'm kind of thinking in my head, this is what I feel, this is how I'm, thinking about them. So, 21 Pilots, I love, the intense instrumentals throughout this album. I love just the way Tyler's vocals are. Obviously, his vocals aren't as strong as they are in newer albums, but that just comes from practice. The band was completely different then. Josh was not in the band. 2 other guys were, Chris and I can't remember the other guy's name, but them being part of the band, them trying to, create a band and having, some pretty good success going to, minor venues and all that kind of stuff. And I remember there was one that they performed at an Apple store. I saw that on YouTube years ago. I feel like that was really awesome. So, trying to keep that energy, and obviously this music is completely different than, what I feel like a normal artist would have released as their first album. They had their own LLC to release this. They recorded this in the studio, I believe, and it sounds very, well produced for the most part. So I am going to put this at number 5. Now, number 4 is going to be Blurryface. Blurryface was what skyrocketed them into superstardom, basically. Stressed Out, Ride, those two songs, those two singles made it really high up on the contemporary artist charts. I believe both of them. No, I know Stressed Out hit number 2 and Ride hit number 3, I believe, on the Hot 100 chart, which is absolutely amazing. But there's some other awesome songs on this. The Judge is absolutely fantastic. I love The Judge. We Don't Believe What's on TV, Goner, crazy amount of tracks that are actually really, really well done, well produced. There was a lot of production on this album. Heavy Dirty Soul, of course, but it has a strong start and it has a strong finish, and there are some, songs that I don't continuously go back to, maybe like Hometown. I don't usually go to Hometown very often, but like I said, maybe going back through the albums, I'll have a completely different feel for these songs. But anyway, after number 4 is number 3, and we have Trench. Trench was not the latest album, but the album before. So 2018, I believe, is when they released Trench. Trench has, like I said, you cannot really compare any 21 Pilots song and say that they are the same, because not 21 Pilots song, but 21 Pilots song too, but 21 Pilots album, because none of them are the same. There's so many different vibes, other than maybe Regional at Best and Vessel, because obviously that's part of kind of the same era of sorts. But with Trench, there's a lot of darkness here. And some standouts for me that I'm just thinking on the top of my head right now. Chlorine, The Hype. I love The Hype. I love the feel of it. Nico and the Niners, I could sing that day in and day out. I love the way that Jumpsuit goes into Levitate. There's so many good stylistic choices done in this album, and I feel like it's very fantastic. There's a lot of, just great production, and most of this was done by Tyler Joseph himself, so you could see that there's a lot of talent here with Tyler Joseph, and there's been a lot of step up from 21 Pilots and Regional at Best, but also Paul Meany from Mute Math, yes, was on helped produce this album. I believe there might have been a few others as well, but it was a smaller crew working on Trench, and you could feel the emotion, you could feel the intensity throughout the whole album, and I absolutely adore that. So from number 3 we go number 2, and I'm going to say the very controversial Scaled and Icy. I know a lot of people do not feel this album, but there's something about the lore creating this, this mindset that they're not actually making this music. Somebody else is, the Bishops, Dima is making them, produce this album. Just makes it so much more interesting to me. And honestly, the songs are all bops. Like, I could listen to all of them on repeat over and over like there's nothing. And I know some people have said that they skip songs, or they don't like the album itself, but there's just something that makes this album, I mean, obviously there's a more pop-centric feel here, but also there's like some 70s rock, 80s rock, like disco influences. It's so fun to me, and obviously it's their newest album, so maybe that's why I'm just feeling like it's on closer to the top of the list, and maybe when I do my re-rankings it will be different. But yes, number 2 is Scaled and Icy. So obviously that just means there's one more, and that is Vessel. Vessel is my number 1 favorite 21 Pilots album. I was introduced to 21 Pilots in 2014 by listening to House of Gold for the first time on YouTube, seeing the YouTube video, and then I went from that to Holding On to You to car radio, and then just listening to all the album, back to back, just front to back continuously, except when I first started listening to them, I kept skipping Ode to Sleep, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because at the beginning, it has so much instrumental or what. I don't know. I just wasn't vibing, and then finally I listened to it all the way through because I kept skipping it. I listened to it all the way through, and it's gotta be one of my favorite 21 Pilot songs, and another one of my favorite 21 Pilot songs then probably my favorite 21 Pilots song is Guns for Hands. Absolutely love the energy of that song, and then when it goes to the rap verse, it goes to a more reggae ukulele style. Absolutely adore that. It's so much fun to me, and I cannot reiterate how much I love this album. But watch, what if after these rankings happen, it's not actually going to be my number one album according to numbers, but in my head I'm like, Vestal has to be my number one album. It was their first album with Fueled by Ramen, and there's just so much positive energy with depressing lyrics without them saying, hey, this song's sad, even though it sounds happy. Even though I do like those lyrics per se, there's just some kind of feel with Vestal, with everything sounding so bubbly and cheery, and then obviously not with car radio, but then having a very intense ending part of the song or whatever. I feel like that's I just love the positive vibe with depressing lyrics. I've just always adored that, and 21 Pilots has made me really fall in love with it. So that is my ranking. So number 6, Regional at Best. Number 5, 21 Pilots. Number 4, Blurry Face. Number 3, Trench. Number 2, Scaled and Icy. And number 1, Vestal. What do you think about my ranking so far? Honestly, it may end up changing, like I said, but I want to kind of tell you what I think it's going to be when I finish listening to them and ranking them. So what do you think? What is your ranking of the 21 Pilots songs? Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you do end up liking it, and make sure to click that subscribe button if you like this video, like past videos, and want to see more in the future. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.